Hello friends and neighbors. So for this video, I'm going to be doing a voiceover for most of the video. Um, Unbeknownst to me while I was recording, the microphone was not working correctly. I even checked it, but such is life. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how I am going to be phasing out most of my spring crops and trying to get an extra little harvest, squeeze in an extra little harvest of some heat-loving crops before I end up eventually planting my fall garden in September. So before we get started cleaning up the garden, let's have a little bit of fun. I've done a lot better this year with incorporating flowers and things that are going to promote pollinators throughout my garden, and they add a lot of beauty as well. And I thought that since a lot of them are starting to peter out, with all of the heat and not as much rain as we've been having, I wanted to capture some of their beauty and enjoy it inside of the house and not just in the garden. So here I am before I end up cutting away a lot of the flowers throughout the garden during this garden cleanup. But before I did that, I wanted to take the prettiest blooms that I saw and cut those to make a bouquet to enjoy inside. And so that is what you see me doing right now. I end up taking some marigolds, some white zinnias, as well as some of the, I think they're called like the Queen Line Envy zinnias. I did a few of those, and then I also did some marigolds and cosmos. I end up putting all of those together and I make a beautiful bouquet to set on my kitchen counter. I also made some smaller bouquets for some of my nieces to enjoy during a party that we had this weekend. So I thought that was a great use of these flowers. So here's a little overview of the garden right now. You can see that the tomatoes, the determinate tomatoes, are done. I do have some edamame and some sweet potatoes that are growing, and those are looking fine. And on the next row, you can see that I have my peppers, and those have some shade cloth over them, and that's just to try to help decrease the temperature, make it a little bit easier on those plants. Those are actually going to stay in until our first frost, because usually they will kind of pick back up in the fall and start giving me some more harvest as the temperatures start cooling down. On our next row, we have our indeterminate tomatoes, and at the top, those are actually putting out some new growth, but they're just not producing as much because of the heat and pollen not working as well when the temperatures are so high. So those are coming out too. In my arches, I have my Asian long beans, which look beautiful, but unfortunately I don't really like the taste and texture of these beans. I'm going to be replacing them with a different species of Asian long beans, and then I'm also going to try some Thai soldier beans, which are also some heat-loving pole beans. So I'm going to see how both of those varieties do on the trellises. On this bed is my squash plants, and they are kind of at the end of their lives as well. This row I have my cowpeas, which I pulled my corn and I replaced all three of these beds with cowpeas or black-eyed peas. So I'm hoping to be able to get a good harvest of those before I end up replanting for my fall crop. And along these back trellises, I actually planted some winter squash. So some kabocha squash, I did some honey nut squash, and so that's what's going to be growing on the back trellises. Circling back to the next row, the two outer beds, like this one and the one on the other side, this one has watermelon. I have two pretty good sized watermelon that are growing in this bed, and then all the way to the left, that's my cantaloupe plant to the left of the squash, and I harvested probably about 6 cantaloupes, but it's kind of slowing down. I'm going to leave those beds as is until I'm ready to plant my fall plants, because there was nothing that I felt like I could really get a good harvest in time before it was time to start my fall garden. Well, enough yapping, let's get to work. So I'm back at the front at my determinate tomatoes, and I am going to be cutting these down, pulling the cages out. All of this lettuce that's in this bed is bolting. It is done. I'm going to be pulling that out. I'm basically going to be completely clearing this bed other than the perennial plants that are right on the corners. All right. And we're just gonna pull this all up with the cage and everything. Alright, on to the next one. I don't want to mess up my stick, so let's go the other way. Is that all of them? Did I get this one? As you can see, both of these herbs have kind of been smothered a little bit in the middle by that marigold. Just gonna cut this back some. Is this even still alive, this marigold? So basically I go through and pull up the rest of the plants except for the perennial herbs. I pull all the lettuce, the kale that really didn't grow or do anything, and then the parsley, and I add it to the pile, and this bed is ready to be reset. And then for my pepper beds, there's not a whole lot that I need to do. I have some shade cloth over these to help protect the peppers, and these are going to stay through the fall. I do want to cut down some of these marigolds. They're just kind of getting tall and unruly and going into the walkway. You do see this volunteer tomato that I want to kind of separate. It's not really bothering anything, so I'm going to let it grow and see what happens. But I go through and I cut down a good bit of the marigolds on both sides just to make them a little bit more tame and easier to manage. I have a couple of lettuce plants that are in this bed, that I also pull up, and then my alyssum is totally done, so I pull that up too. And actually during this process, I noticed an ant bed. I sprinkled some diatomaceous earth on there, kind of rough it up and sprinkle some more. I haven't had great success with diatomaceous earth. I also have tried borax mixed with some sugar and kind of turned into a paste and putting that in a container and letting them eat that. That does slow them down as well. I tried that. The bed is still there. I'm going to try some granular spinosad, which is an organic pesticide, and see if that works. Honestly, in my experience, the best thing to do for these ant beds is to pour boiling water over them. That's not really practical when you have actual plants that you want to keep alive that are within the ant bed. So I'm going to try the spinosad and see how that works. Sense. So I'm just continuing on with my garden cleanup. I'm trying to refresh my flower bed just a little bit. I had started some flowers from seed, but I went out of town and then got sick right after, and I just was not able to care for them properly, and they died. So I did end up getting some plants from the nursery. They really weren't the greatest selection, but it was really all they had. They were kind of root bound and kind of looked like they were on their last leg. I'm not super hopeful that these will do great, but you know, we'll put them in the ground and see what happens. The rest of my garden cleanup was kind of spread over the course of a few days. The things that I ended up doing was I pulled up all of my indeterminate tomatoes. I cleaned up, you know, the rest of the flowers kind of bordering the rest of the beds. I've said this before, but I'll mention again. I really want to focus a little bit more on dwarf flowers next year, just because I feel like they will be less kind of wild and unwieldy. So I'm gonna try to get more dwarf varieties and see if I like that a little bit better. You guys tell me what you think of this kind of point of view perspective that I use with the camera. The camera is actually like hanging around my neck, and so that way it kind of allows for my hands to be free and for you guys to kind of follow along with me. Let me know if you like this view or if you prefer when I kind of set the camera up further away from me so you kind of have a wider angle. But as far as my garden cleaning up, I'm doing all of this in preparation for the fall, so I can get these beds cleared out. I can top them up, put some slow release granular fertilizer in there to reintroduce some nutrition so that they can be ready to go for the fall planting season. And boy, did I pull some plants out. This is the humongous pile of plant debris that I have from everything that I pulled up, and you can see in the background that the garden is looking pretty bare. The trellises are bare, a lot of the beds are empty, but they will not stay empty for long. Don't you worry. We are getting ready to start our planting cycle overall again, and we have a bunch of beautiful seedlings here that are going to be ready to go in just a few weeks for our fall planting. We have celery, we have broccoli, cabbage, we have some determinate tomatoes as well. We have some Brussels sprouts. I'm also going to direct seed carrots and parsnips and beets, all of the staple fall crops, and I'm excited to take you guys along for the ride. So hope you join me. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Stay tuned for some updates on how the fall season is shaping up. And until next time, always remember you can cultivate something good in your life and in the lives of those around you. Take care, guys.